Hi, folks. It's Janie from Messages from Heaven by Janie and Spirits by Janie at YouTube. Um, I'm sorry I was sick yesterday. I have a chronic problem, and it just hits me a couple times a week, usually, and makes me unable to go do anything. Stuff hits when you're older. And the idea that old people can work until they're God knows what 80, like no, some people can. I mean, some people are really um, able in their 70s and 80s, but it's the rarity. So, what I thought I would do is a couple things. I want to tell you if you want to talk to spirits, we all, I always say this, everybody's got a bunch of spirits around us. Um, Usually we have a few guides who can be from Earth or they can be from other planets. It's like when you meet them, you realize, they're really people. I mean, they're not people exactly like us. They're, but then like different cultures are not exactly like us either. And the good thing is that we do have different cultures. And if we're a little bit smarter, we know, or a little bit more sensitive, I guess, we realize that it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're looking at me, I'm an American. I'm now an American. I actually was born here, but my, let's see, my great grandparents did not come from here. And um, they can see me. I'm now a different culture. I'm not in their culture. I can talk to them. And I know my great grandfather, I don't think he could, when he first came here, I don't think he could read and write. Um, he came from England when he and his two brothers, they were, how old were they? Let's see, they came in 1851. So they were about 20, you know. It's also an age like 20, 25. We have energy and we're ready to go do an adventure. I'm getting cold. Okay. Part of why I didn't feel good. So, um, came, he learned to read and write, and originally he had a job wrapping cigars, making cigars, really. He would, I don't know what he did, but they would make them. It was not an unusual thing because people did smoke cigarettes and whatever they would smoke. It was like a big deal, and they thought it cured things. Cigarettes. They didn't call them cigarettes. I don't know what they called them. Something else. And people really loved them, so they would make them, and they would go to the United States. They'd go to Europe. People really thought tobacco and tea. They thought tobacco and tea, and then coffee would cure different ailments. Does make you a little energized. Tea will do more. Coffee will do even more. Anyway, they people rolled cigars, and I don't think they rolled cigarettes though. All over the world. Well, I know at least. No, I shouldn't say that. The Western world. Um, and it was really cheap. You hardly got paid. The whole family had to do it. It was not good because you really didn't make any money. It was very, very cheap because the cigars were cheap. Um, so eventually he learned to do a different job that paid more, which is a great thing. But he did have to learn to read. Um, he became an auctioneer, and I used to hear them when I was a kid, where my parents had a little sort of, not really a shop, like a place in a place. And I didn't like them. It would, I don't know, real fast. Anyway, so, so if you're watching me from a different country, I guarantee you that your culture is a little different. Even if you're watching me from a place like England or France uh, or India, it's going to be a little different because people assume you're going to act in a certain way, and mostly people do because it's convenient, it feels okay, and it's acceptable. Who cares? So if somebody says hello to me, I say hello back. That kind of thing. Um, People are very weird in the United States, though, especially white people. Really, if you say hello to them, sometimes they look at you like a. I said hello to people today. I was walking with a walker, and a little girl. There were two little girls, and the older one, who was about 5, was pointing to my walker, and I said, "Oh, hi," and she was, and she, I said, "You're pointing to my walker," and they were like, "Okay." So anyway, let's look in on. I can look in on Modi if you're. Most of my watchers are from, re, um, um, God, I can't believe I'm doing this. India. Forgetting words really bad. Okay, so I think he's eating. I think he's snacking. Like he's not eating a meal. He's sort of snacking on fruit or something. I hope I'm right, but I don't know. That's what I saw. I thought that I saw. I mean, hopefully. Okay, let's go to somebody else. Let's look at Trump because I know I looked at him the other day, and the man's the man's mentally ill, and he's a narcissist and he's paranoid. He's also a rapist. What else? He's a lot of bad things. I don't think there's one good thing about the man. He doesn't care about anybody except himself. I don't even know if he cares about his kids. Grown, he has grandchildren. Does he care about them? Nope. So let's look at him. Uh, it's about 7:30. Right? No, it's almost 8 o'clock where we are. So what's he doing? Well, he's on the east. I think he's on the East Coast. He's yelling. He's yelling at somebody like they did something wrong. He's mad. Not eating. I thought he'd be eating. Mm-mm. He might later. He ate ice cream. I know that was the last thing, but he's just yelling. He whatever he's blaming somebody else for something that went wrong. He's having this whole thing about tariffs and stuff. He's out of whack. I mean, what he did, with adding tariffs to things, and there's tariff war with other countries, attacking countries that we always worked with. Like, why would he do that? He's actually creating a what do you call it? A recession here. If we're lucky, not a depression, which would be all over really. Um, and that's what he's doing. If it's not a depression, because food is really expensive, and it wasn't. We grow it here, and so it wasn't. They grow. I don't know what they grow in Canada besides wheat and make things. Um, that's really kind of a dumb remark, but I don't know. Um, okay, so he's yelling because I'm sure that he's getting the negative, all the bad reviews because people, even the people who voted for him, are really mad. Um, they're afraid, because we're going to have a depression, and he caused it. Whatever it is, he caused. He's a dunce. I wonder because you know, I'm sure he paid somebody to take his tests in school because they didn't used to notice when he went to college was around, and he went before I did because I waited until my daughter was a little older. Um, Nobody noticed. They didn't. It was almost the right. It was almost considered appropriate. I'm not appropriate, but like okay, the professors wouldn't. They would not punish anybody for someone else taking the test for them. They weren't looking. So if somebody from another country, say an Asian guy or a Indian guy, was substituting for Trump, who had, I think he dyed his hair even then, blonde hair, um, and he was tall, not as tall as he says, but and he was thin. So really, truly, when I went to school, they wouldn't have said anything. There was a scandal later on in maybe the 70s, later in the 70s, where the professor started to be watched for people taking tests that somebody must have had a lawsuit. Got to pick this up from the floor. Okay. Um, so they had, so then they started watching, but not then. So I don't think he took the tests. I know he wouldn't release his records, but I don't think so. All right, let's go on to somebody else. Let's go on to Putin, okay? Because Putin's closer to you if you're there, and for us, it's important, Americans, and actually anybody in Western Europe too. So let's go on and see what Putin's doing. He's yelling at somebody, not really yelling. He's just mean and he's not talking nicely. I think the guy he's talking to is a general. He's high ranking. I think Putin is in this underground place. It's it's big. I mean, it's not small. This is a big room with one of those, with that long table that he had, so he didn't have to be close to the person to whom he was speaking. Far, it's far away. Um, and he's telling the person that they did something wrong that really was not a big thing, or it wasn't, or the person could not have controlled it, wasn't under control, and he's just not, he's the person, I think either that person or someone else told him that person could not have done anything else. He doesn't care. He's just blaming this person. And what's he doing? He threatened him. He said, if you don't straighten up and you do it again, I think he's threatening him with death. He's not saying that, but I really think that's what it is. He's going to go to bed. He just has this one guy. He's not sitting down. He's in the room. Putin's sitting down at this table. The guy is all the way down in the room, like about 10 feet away, standing up, not crying. He's not, he knows he can't say anything. If he says anything, he's going to make it worse. So he's there. There are actually, I didn't think there were other people here, but there are 3 other people at the table on the far side. There aren't windows, but there's something there that makes it look as though there are windows. So I don't think there are. There's beyond the guy standing there, there's a door. I'm not sure if there's another door that Putin would use. But there are these three men. I don't think any of them is a woman or a woman. Even if they know better, they're not going to say anything. They do know better, but they're afraid. They've got papers in front of them with, lines like this and stuff. I guess that's something to do with the attacks in Ukraine. And they're ready to sacrifice that guy. They're ready to see him fall out a window like a lot of people do in Russia. They just ate. Did the other guy eat? Maybe. He might have. But they ate, these three guys ate with Putin. I don't think they ate the same food, though. He gave them food purchased in Moscow. He eats the food that those two people go in a helicopter and buy in some other place so that nobody knows that it's Putin's food. So I think this guy who's standing there is going to be dismissed. He's not going to retain his position. He's got a family. He's got children. He's a young guy. He's in his 40s. I don't know who he is. He's afraid he's going to be killed. He's very afraid, and he really wishes he could kill Putin because he thinks Putin is evil, which he is. And the other guys, the three guys, Putin dismissed the guy. Now he's telling the three guys how bad this guy is. And they're agreeing with him. Now okay. He's going to pick on one of them, though. That's coming up because he's angry at one of them also. Not as much as he was to that guy, but he's angry. He wants to kill his name, the president of Ukraine. He wants him dead. I don't know whether one of them was supposed to do something like that or wasn't involved, or whether that was the other guy. He wants it done. He feels like if if the president there, whose name I can't remember at this moment, was out of the way, Russia would be able to beat them. He wouldn't. That wouldn't happen, but he thinks it would. He really wants to win there because he wants to be able to go into Poland and the other countries. This is for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, he's looking at Poland. He wants those two big nations under Russia. And then he wants these small ones too, but those two were really big, and he was very resentful. So he expected to win Ukraine quickly, pretty quickly, and it's not happening. He thinks Americans are fools, real fools, idiots, stupid. Thinks we're all like Trump. Like, we're good at two shoes, and we wouldn't let Ukraine bomb Russia. So, so he thinks we're idiots, we're stupid. Really does. Got to say that some of the things that they do better. Like the ballet, there's nothing like the Bolshoi. And art, they teach better than we do. Because I went to a really fine school, really fine classical school. I think theirs is better. I know they're better at chess. My cousin was a serious player who won, one of those, what do you call them, those cups and stuff, and I have them downstairs. He put them in a drawer. I put them out when he passed away. Okay, let's talk to the, not Shirley, Sylvia Brown. Okay. Yes, I remembered things. Let me see if there are people here too. Just 3. Mr. What? Oh, hey. Oh, Mr. Watermelon. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, Mr. Watermelon. You must like it more than I do. It's sloppy. I mean, but I do eat watermelon. It's really good for you. Okay, so Sylvia, will you talk to us? Sylvia? Sylvia Brown? What do you want? I want to know what you see for the earth coming up, say in the rest of March. Do you see anything? I see floods, she says. Earthquakes. I see cars running into each other. Yeah. Everywhere. Well, that's because people drive the way they drive. Um, she says she sees a mess. What do you see with Trump? Anything? He's going to be kicked out? She says, yes. I hope so. What about his partners? That Muskrat? Oh, yeah, he's been kicked out. He's going to go back to Europe. He's not going to be able to go too many places. Anything else? J.D. Vance. She says, what a creep. Is he going to be kicked out too? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay. I was going to I don't know. I'll tell you, if you want to connect to your guides and angels, there are a million ways to do it. And the thing is, you can use tarot cards. You can use, I found them to be the best. People use pendants, swing them. Mine, forget it. They just say yes to everything. It's absolutely of no help for me. They use pieces of stone, stones. Really, I mean, you could just pick up a stone in the street if it's just a way. It's using something to connect. I hold up my hands sometimes, and I use one hand for yes and one hand for no. And the best though for me are the cards because a lot of times they just, I don't know what they're, yes, yes, yes. I ask them stuff, yes, yes, yes. Well, it can't be yes to everything. But what Sterling says is, he says, write a question in a notebook. Keep writing it. I'm probably saying this wrong, but no big deal. Write it every day for 2 weeks. See if you get an answer, if it comes in your head. It might feel like you thought it up. Hopefully you'll recognize that you didn't, and it's different. Maybe it sounds a little different. It might be good. Well, you can always do a question for 2 weeks, see if it comes out pretty well. And if not, try it again. Or the tarot cards, if you buy, well, I'm not saying don't buy a secondhand deck if you can. And if you have a place to keep them, good. I found that buying stuff that other people had sometimes has their spirit, some part of their spirit in it. And I got a very pretty ring at one point. I could feel the energy was bad. So I'm not saying to do it. I've been getting, when I want some jewelry and I buy it from India, I try to get new stuff all the time. I'm afraid to buy the other stuff. Um, After that one time, I know that it's possible, and I can't I can't be sure that whatever I do, that I remember, if I remember the steps to do it, that it would really work. Um, that's really it. So okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna stop. If you have any questions, just write to me at SpiritsbyJaynee at gmail.com. Leave me a message here. I really love getting the messages, and it's so rare and so much fun. Not Ali. Ali, do not leave me anything. I'm really annoyed. This Ali is a kid who must be a good computer person because he got something on my on my personal information which shouldn't be there, and I'm still angry about it. I don't want anything. I don't want to deal with him. Um, push the buttons if you can. Push the buttons to remember. To I'm sorry, to subscribe or you like it. And I'll tell you this: my father drives with me. How's that? My father taught me how to drive when I was 16, a couple of years ago. And when I drive, a lot of times he's there, and he's holding the wheel, and I'm holding the wheel, and I can't really see him because it is a different dimension. But I'm telling you, talking to the spirits is a lot of fun, and I talk to ones I haven't met that I really like. And if you call the spirits, make sure you don't just make it a blanket, spirits come, because you get tricksters. You don't want that. So some of them show up in their uniforms if they fought in a war or died in a war. Interesting. It's fascinating. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Leave me a message. Push the buttons and have a great night. Thank you. Bye bye.